Welcome back to our channel. We are James and Keli, and we are converting our van so that we can move to South America with our 2 cats.
In today's video, we are building and installing our 2 inlets that we are putting at our back windows. This will give me enough room to be able to sleep sideways without having to put out bump outs. In this van build project, we are working on our bed inlets, and I've made our bed inlets here in SketchUp. And as you can see, it's basically a boxed wall that we're going to insert into the back of our van where our bed goes. The reason why we're building this inlet is because it gives us extra room to lay sideways, because it's going to be inside the wall and not kind of flush with our wall. How I'm building it is first by building a frame that will provide support for the wall. It's going to be a thin frame made out of 1/2-inch plywood put together that also goes around our bunk window in the back. Then I'm going to face it with a sheet of plywood and then give it a nice frame that will insert it into the wall, which should allow it to transition very well into the rest of our walls. After we install our inlets, we're going to install our bed frame supports, which is going to be this long 2x6 that runs the back of our van, and it's going to be supported by a couple 2x4s that hold up our bed.
Right now I am working on sanding our boards that our bed is going to pretty much sit on. Our goal is to have our bed pull out, and these are going to be that support for when it pulls out. It will sit on this and not our countertops. I've already gone through and sanded the top and the face side with a 100 sander, and now I'm doing a 150 using just a circle sander. Now I am finishing off all of the faces and the sides with the 220 grit sandpaper and a finishing sander. Then James said we will wipe it down with some water, because that is going to help bring all the fibers up, and then you're going to really be able to feel if it is actually fully sanded or if you need to go back through it. The final step will be to hand sand it, just make sure everything's good to go, and possibly we are going to stain this today.
While Keli is working on the long board that supports our bed, I'm going to be working on the frame of it. We bought some 2x4s that we're going to use to support the bed from the bottom, and I'm just cutting them into size so the long board can just lay on top of these 2x4s and be supported. I'm cutting these boards at 30.5. We are using a 2x6 for the long boards for our bed. So this 30.5 will raise it to 36 in height, which will be an inch above what we plan on having our cabinets. And that way the bed can fully be supported on the board even when it goes over our countertops. So should work out pretty well.
We are starting our first official stain that is going into our van that's going to be noticeable. This is what our bed is going to sit on as it pulls out. It is also going to be kind of like a backsplash a little bit in our dinette area to kind of connect everything together. We decided to go with red oak after a lot of different tests on any stain that we could get our hands on from family and friends. We're liking the color so far. It's a little bit dark, but we're really hoping that when it dries, it's going to be a little bit lighter of a stain. I think it's going to look really nice. I'm pretty excited to see what this actually looks like finished. We have finished staining these pieces for the night. We are going to let them dry and come back tomorrow and do a top coat over them. So we have already done one coat of polyurethane on these boards. So what I'm doing now is sanding it to get it smooth, making sure we don't have any bubbles. And then I will go back through with our second coat of polyurethane. That is not. Looks good. No bubbles. I got all the pieces. Also, so we can keep using our brush for poly, we are just soaking it in mineral spirits, leaving it in overnight, then rinsing out with soap and water, and then it's good as new.
Today's task for me was to create the inlet wall. I am on to making my second frame. Since I know that that first frame works for the passenger side, it's given me a lot of renewed energy to make the second frame tonight. So what I've done is I've cut 5 pieces of board from 1/2-inch birch plywood, and these are each 3 inches wide and 24 3/4 long. First step in making the frames is cutting the curves that go around the window. I just finished using the bandsaw to cut in the curve to kind of give these relief cuts, and it obviously doesn't look that pretty on the inside. So next thing I'm going to do is bring it to my drill press, where I have a sanding bit hooked up onto it, and I'm going to sand it to my lines that I have drawn on here. It makes a nice smooth curve measurement to see that both sides are equal. I like to quickly just match them up with the window that I have. That looks really good. I think it's time to put this frame together. This frame, and now I'm testing, so it has lots of space around it because I'm going to come through and take about 1/8 of an inch thick of wood, and it's going to just line where it comes in, so it'll hide all of the insulation. And it doesn't need to go all the way, it just kind of needs to touch the window so we can't see the insulation. But most of these parts, it can go pretty much all the way to the wall. And then the next thing I need to do is attach this to the plywood that we'll be using. I need to fit this frame exactly where it should be on the plywood. So what I've done is I measured from this corner to here. I cut the plywood at 50 inches wide and the same height as this. And I just measured where 50 inches fits in here. The next step is I'm going to use a router and router out the 1/4-inch plywood where the window goes. I've already drilled a hole for the router to go through. So a router bit is just going to use these edges as a guideline. It's going to cut the 1/4-inch plywood exactly the same way as the framing is right now. So this 1/4-inch plywood has cotton in it, or cotton strings or something in it. But that router does such a good job at making a level surface along it. Now I'm going to go test to see if this thing fits on the left side. Right now I'm building the frame that's going to attach the inlet wall to the rest of the van, and this is the top piece that I'm working on right here, and because I don't want this sharp corner to be hitting the back of my head every time I lay down, I'm actually rounding it with this nice long router bit, giving it this kind of like nice smooth curve. That way every time we bring our heads back down, we're not hitting a corner, and it's just kind of a nice smooth transition into the frame. Got this nice big Bosch router with a curved bit on it, and I've just brought the bit all the way up in line with this, so it's just a curve completely. And then I also, underneath my wood, I have a straight edge because the gauge at the bottom of this bit is actually longer than the wood, so it kind of makes the wood curve immediately from the top part of it. I've rounded the top of the frame. I'm gluing all of the frames together, and I'm trying to keep them at right angles as best as I can.
Now that James has finished up the frame for our passenger side, first we're going to do 1 coat of primer, let it dry, and then once the primer's dry, we'll give it 2 coats of paint. And then we should hopefully be able to put these up next week.
Now time to attach our frame that we've created. I'm gonna just attach it with screws real quick, and then I'm gonna see if I can fit it in with the frame attached. That's the plan, to have it all attached together and then put it in, because that'll be the easiest way to do it. I haven't done the tops or the bottoms yet. This is just a dry fit to make sure.
Looks really nice. This camera does not do the justice of the color. We really wanted to do a lighter color, but
I think the deep red is soothing. Get it to here, and you need to push this bottom piece underneath. Okay, and then
super tight right here, James.
yeah, I'm gonna have to trim this corner back.
Really nice though.
Come for me to now install the inlet into the wall. I have it all built out, so we've got the frame on it and the wall built out. And again, this frame all has backing strength to it because it's just a 1/4 inch piece of plywood. So I've got 1/2 inch birch plywood behind it, and then my frame is made out of pine. I attached these strips of wood here at the top as a catch, so it'll catch onto these struts that come down, and then I can screw into those struts into those pieces of wood. But one thing I want to do before I put the inlet in is up here we have this piece of metal that I want to cover, because the sun's beating down on the van right above here right now, and I feel this metal and it gets really hot. So we bought our Easy Cool to put over all of these metal spots, so I want to put that up there because I know that right when I put this inlet in, we are not going to be able to access this top or bottom portion. Put up our Easy Cool here at the top and also at the bottom. Oh, I got a bee in here. Now, time to get this in here. So I've gotten the wall or the inlet in. I don't have any screws or anything holding it up right now. It's just these blocks of wood and some shims underneath that are holding it up. Now I'm going to test around the window to make sure I have enough space all the way around it. To put in a, what's the correct word? It looks like it's tilting down now. But I've just basically made a jam. So I have these shims under here that are keeping this up to the height that I need. And then I just have this block of wood that's glued to the top that keeps it pressed in. And this inlet is extremely secure in there, even though I don't have any screws attaching it to the van at all. You'd be hard pressed to move this an inch. We have our inlets in now, and the last step that we need to do is to trim out around the window. And what we've done for that is we've bought this sheet of 1/16 of an inch birch, kind of bendy plywood that's able to just kind of sit on the inside, and it'll hide all of our insulation, and it'll go just right around the window. This bendy plywood is doing exactly what we need it to do. So I cut off this small strip to see if it'll fit these corners, and I know my corners aren't probably the most perfect round, but you could pretty much push it into the corner and it fills up the entire space. We've come to the conclusion that we're going to do 3 strips, and the strips are going to have varying widths because of the metal around this frame. There are some drainage points around the window, and then there's just some spots, especially around here, where the metal just comes up, so it changes 1/8 of an inch. Our trim is now ready to be put in around our window. I've left it just loosely around the window so it could start to train its shape. So now when I take this out, it keeps roughly the bend that it needs. As you can see, there's no poly on this. If we were to put poly on this before installing it, the poly would break or the finish would be ruined as we try to bend it. So it's better to put it, install it where we want it, and then put poly on it afterwards. I know it's going to be pretty difficult in these tight spaces, but we do have some small brushes that we're just going to try to put on where we need it. To install, we're going to use our waterproof wood glue.
So what we've been doing, what we did to the other side, is individually go through and glue, kind of wiping it on, and then every little bit we're putting painter's tape in to try and clamp it down. And I'm really hoping that this is going to hold it down. And then what we are going to do is go buy some red oak wood filler to clean up the edges, because the stain didn't really stick to the sides of where the plywood is. And then there are a few little gaps that the board's just not going to be able to get to. So fill those in. And these inlets should be done. I think they're looking pretty great. Oh wait, we do also have to poly them, but yeah, we'll do that too.
After letting the glue dry overnight, this is what we have, and it looks really good, except for obviously where the round starts to happen, because it wasn't a perfect line, unfortunately. But everywhere else, it's perfectly on there.
So to fix this, just to clean it up, we bought wood, like a wood stain marker of the color we're using, which is red oak. Not sure if this is actually going to work, but I'm going to try it on just like a tiny spot, like where the sides of the plywood is glued together, just to see if it matches. And if it does, we will go through and finish it with this stainable wood filler. This way we can squeeze it into these cracks, and hopefully it'll have a nice finish. And then once that dries, we can go back through and paint it with this marker. What I've done is I've gone through the whole entire trim with the wood putty. I focused on the big holes and just really squeezed that wood putty in there. Then the rest I just kind of rubbed around with my finger. So trying to get it to be like as smooth as possible in any of the areas where it needs to be. And once it all dries, tomorrow we'll come back through with a sander, make it look pretty. Finished drying on our bed inlets, and I want to say they look pretty good with the bendy plywood. The only negative part about it, which we kind of knew was a possibility, is that where the plywood is glued together does not actually hold stain at all. So we have some pieces around the trim that just kind of looks kind of bad, or you can still see it. But there's nothing really we can do about it. From a distance, you can kind of tell. But hey, this is DIY. This is all by hand. But now that these are dry, we're going to finish our bed outer framing by installing the frame boards.
For installing our bed frame, this is what will hold up our bed basically. This length of a board, and then I'm going to have a couple of supports that go underneath it. I have one 2x4 that it sits on in the back, and then another 2x4 that stops it from caving into the middle. So it'll go like that. And I made this board purposely a little bit smaller just in case our struts that go across go down a little bit. And then up here in the front, I just have one that goes underneath it because right here we're going to have a countertop, so it will also hold it into the wall, so I don't need to worry about having a support to stop it from caving in here at the front. Screwed in, and they look really nice. I really like how they've turned out. These even give us little cubbies that we can put where our inlets are. So,
maybe this can be our underwear and sock drawers.
Yeah.
Looks pretty good though, James.
Yeah, good job. Me. Thank you.
Hey, I stained these. Also, the stain does not do it justice. So like it looks really nice, like right here, like reddish tint. And this looks just black on our video, and we promise you it's not. It's like a deeper red oak because we had to go over it twice because of the plywood, but I think it looks really nice.
The bed supports are in, and the bed framing is all installed along with our inlets, and we think they look really nice in the back. With our inlets installed, from inlet to inlet is 74 inches, so that is 2 inches above 6 foot, and I am just under 6 foot, so I have 2 extra inches when I lay side to side, which is awesome. I'll be able to lay on my back, which is nice, comfortably. My toes will touch the sides, but that's all right. Now that our bed inlets and bed frame are installed, we are one step closer to being able to sleep inside our van.
We still have a lot more to build inside our van, and if you can't tell, we're currently building a partition wall. So make sure to subscribe to our channel so you can see our whole entire van build process.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye! And thanks for watching!